everybody, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ellen. I am a full-time artist and I've been doing this for almost 10 years now. And if you're new here, welcome. My channel is basically just sharing my thoughts, my experiences, and my advice on being a full-time artist. And I take your questions and you generally do videos on them, and that's what leads me to this video today. Someone asked a question asking me what it's like to sell on Etsy today. And I thought, I really haven't done a video like that in a really long time. The last video that I did, I think, was in 2016. I started on Etsy in 2012. So I had been doing it for about 4 years, and I thought I kind of knew what was going on then, but things have changed since then. So I wanted to share my experiences about what it's like to sell on Etsy in 2021. I actually have some good experience with this on a new perspective, because I just helped my husband, Craig, open up his own Etsy shop about a month ago. He doesn't have like any hands-on labor. He's not the creator of his shop, but he's more of the brains behind, and a friend of his does all of the creating. So they have partnered together to do this shop, and I know my way around Etsy pretty good now after all this time. So I offered to get the shop going, which basically meant writing descriptions. I took photographs. It was like I was opening my own shop, but once it went live, I sort of handed everything over to Craig to do. But I have been watching it very closely this past month and offering my thoughts and advice to them, since they are brand new to Etsy. So I have my own experience with my own shop that's almost a decade old, and I have all of this newfound experience opening up a shop, even though it's not my own, but going through the process of opening up a new Etsy shop. So I can definitely share my thoughts on that for you, and that's what I'm going to be doing today. So what has changed on Etsy from even just 2 or 3 years ago? We can even just start there, because Etsy is constantly evolving. They are constantly trying to find ways to make money. And someone had mentioned in the comments section of that question, I don't remember what video it was of mine that I posted that led to that question. Maybe it was my Etsy video, but anyway, someone had responded that Etsy had changed not for the better, that they are now allowing people who don't have any hands-on open up a shop, who just basically purchase materials and resell them as their own, and that has really hurt the community. I can attest that that has definitely happened. Etsy is not They are not as involved in what you sell. Essentially, if you do well in your shop and you don't make a thing, if you purchase your goods from anywhere, no one really questions where you get your stuff from. You can say it's handmade, but is it really? You kind of have to read the description on a lot of listings to find out, because a lot of people who sell on Etsy, they don't make their own things. So it's not technically a handmade seller's marketplace now. That's the one thing that is a major difference between now and back when I started. So on the other hand, you can now have multiple people working a shop, like in my husband's case, where he does all of the computer work, the shipping, the packing, communicates with the customers, and then our friend Patrick does all of the hands-on crafting work. So you can collaborate with other people to do a shop, and it still is handmade in Craig's and Patrick's business, but a lot of shops are not like that. So that does sort of drag down the Etsy name, I think. In my personal opinion, there's still a lot of traffic on Etsy. The customers don't seem to mind it. Seems like customers now today are just looking for the least expensive thing. They, like everybody, they kind of want it all, but they want to have it at the least amount of expense possible. And that's unfortunate, but that's sort of where we're at right now, crawling our way out from a pandemic. I get it, but at the same time, you kind of do get what you pay for. And a lot of these sellers who don't have any hands-on in what it is that they're selling, they drag the market down a little bit, unfortunately. But you're going to find that most everywhere these days. It's just sort of a way of life. I don't know many places that are not like that. So that's not a great thing about Etsy. Another thing that people are not liking are the Etsy offsite ads. That was not going on when I first started on Etsy all those years ago. If you're not familiar with offsite ads, what they are essentially is that you have no choice in the matter. You are being opted in. Etsy is going to advertise items within your shop that they deem fit, items that they feel that are worth advertising. They will advertise on your behalf on other search platforms. On the internet, and if you make less than $10,000 a year, you will be charged 15% of your sale price if you make a sale within 30 days of them showing that advertisement. You will be charged 15% of your sale. If you make over $10,000 a year, you will be charged 12%. And again, you cannot opt in or out of this. This is mandatory. And a lot of people were very upset when this initially came out, because that's a big chunk of money on a sale. It's a lot. I did a video on this a while back, and I said that I would check in, and it is about time that I check in on that. And I can tell you that in all this time, in the past 6, 7, 8 months, Etsy keeps tabs of this for me. I've only made like 12 offsite ad sales, and I get a lot of traffic to my shop, but I've only made about 12 sales. So, in the big scheme of things, it's not really hurting my business getting an occasional sale here and there from these mandatory ads. It's not going to kick me off the platform because I can't suddenly pay my bills or anything like that. And in the big scheme of things, having Etsy run offsite ads for me, even if people are not clicking and purchasing, they're at least seeing that I am out there, and maybe they will think to come back in the future. Maybe after the 30 days are up, maybe they'll come back on their own and I won't get charged for a future sale. Who knows? But it really hasn't affected me all that much, so I'm not terribly concerned about that. Let's see, what else is different on Etsy now than it was before? I can tell you, as somebody who just went through the process of starting a new shop for Craig, I forgot how much work it is. It's a lot of work. Coming up with 10 different photographs for every item that you're listing, which is what Etsy recommends that you do. You don't have to do that, but that can kind of be tough. And writing descriptions so that you're answering everybody's questions they might have. You want to make sure that you're communicating really well. And so in the description area, I try to put my best foot forward and answer any potential questions that there might be, so that when someone makes a purchase, they don't get that item home and then think, what is this? This is not what I thought it was, and then leave you a bad review. So I wanted to get everything off on the right foot, and so that takes a lot of time. Having photos that are engaging takes a lot of effort, and I'm finding that compared to other shops whose photographs that I really admire and who prompt me to click on those views and take me to their shop on Etsy, it's always the photographs that seriously look like they've just come out of a magazine. And if you have been searching on Etsy anytime recently, you will see that a lot of the photographs, a lot of the listing initial thumbnail images, they call it, they look like they've just stepped out of a magazine. So it's imperative that you get some photography skills when you open up a new Etsy shop today. Back when I started on Etsy, it wasn't like that. It was when you went to Etsy, you knew that people were essentially making things out of their basement or out of their little craft studio or at their kitchen table. And, they would take I would call them like homey photos of their items. And now it is just not like that. Everybody has got to look like a professional, whether they are or not, or whether they're not. So that was something that was definitely that's different than it was when I started on Etsy. The biggest thing, I think that essentially it hasn't changed, because I knew that I needed to do this when I started Etsy 10 years ago, but it was a very harsh reminder to me that you need to have a following when you are on Etsy today. If you're going to open up an Etsy shop, you have to have a following behind you, so that eyes will be on your Etsy shop, so that you will have interested people that are visiting your Etsy shop and clicking on your items and purchasing from you to tell their friends and sharing your listings and favoriting those listings. If you don't have that kind of support initially, you get drowned out by all of the competition that is there on Etsy, ready to take your place with their sales, their orders, their listings. It's so oversaturated now. Unless you have an idea that is fresh and no one else is doing it, it's definitely a must that you have that. So if you're thinking about starting an Etsy shop today and you don't have a Facebook business page, if you don't have Instagram or TikTok or Snapchat or wherever it is that you are, I strongly recommend that you get that started and start building a following. The only alternative, if you don't have a fan base, or if you don't have anybody who is willing to support you on the internet, is to throw ads at your listings. That's really the only other option. And ads on Etsy, I believe right now you have to have like a minimum of $1 a day. So that's $30 a month if you want to run ads on Etsy. And essentially all that does is they will boost your listings in search so that they're not buried clear down at the bottom. For an example, my husband's shop, when it opened initially, he doesn't have a following. He's not actually doing the making. He's doing the back behind the scenes work. So he really couldn't market to anybody other than the people that he knows on Facebook. And he had me helping him on my personal Facebook page and on Instagram, but essentially he didn't really have a following for this particular these items that he is selling. And so if you don't have people that are following you for your work, it's going to be very difficult to get those same people to buy from you. You need to find your fan base, people who are interested in what it is that you are doing. So again, I don't want to spend too much time on this because I know that you hopefully are understanding what I'm saying, but if you don't have any fan base or following or people appreciating your craft or your art, then it's important to set aside money and put ads into it so that you don't get buried in Etsy search. Really, there's no other way. Once you open up your shop, you can't just sit back and wait for people to come visiting you, because that is not how Etsy works today. Etsy is essentially a platform that you have to market, you have to bring the people in. If your items sell, if they do well, then Etsy rewards you for that. They're saying, oh, okay, I see people are interested in what it is that you're selling, so we're going to boost you up in search so you become easier to find. So that's sort of that give and take relationship that Etsy has with you, but you have to prove to them that your goods are worthy of those higher spots in search. They're not just going to do that for you. There are so many shops that are opening on Etsy on any daily basis that they need a reason to invest in you with those higher search locations. So you've got to give them a reason to do that. So anyway, that is really essentially the biggest changes that I've seen on Etsy since I started. And there is one more thing. I remember what I was going to say before, the new star seller status. That's the other thing this is the most recent change that Etsy has that has a lot of people in an uproar. This just launched in September of 2021, and basically all it is if you ship on time, and if you ship when you say you're going to ship, and if you answer messages within a 24-hour period, and if you have 5-star reviews essentially across the board, then you get this little badge next to your shop name that says Star Seller. So it's sort of a nod from Etsy to the public saying, hey, this shop really knows what they're doing, and they're going to take good care of you because they have a really great record of doing so. They're going to answer your questions, they're going to ship on time, and so they're going to treat you right. So you might want to consider at least browsing this shop. That's essentially what that is. Now, the reason why people were making such a big deal about it, sellers, was because when Etsy launched Star Seller, it was nearly impossible to get Star Seller status because they were asking the impossible. I didn't even get Star Seller status because they just didn't think a lot of things through, and so things that were beyond our control were bringing our numbers down to unattainable levels. There's no way we were going to get Star Seller. So I think they're beginning to tweak that a little bit. I've been noticing on the dashboard that they are going through and they're shifting some things around, and now you have the option of doing a few things that they were not even allowing before, which gives you a little bit of wiggle room and boosts your chances of getting Star Seller status. So that's the other thing that is different now than it was back then. Etsy is constantly changing. They change their algorithms, they change the way they want you to do tags and listing titles. They're constantly trying to improve upon things so that when customers search on Etsy, they can find your items more easily because the market is so oversaturated. I think it's just a way for them to try and get your items seen as easily as possible without being drowned out by so much outside noise. So Etsy is constantly working on our behalf, I think, because it's in their best interest too. Etsy wants to make money, but they don't make money unless we make money. So, for as many people who are upset with Etsy, their business model is essentially to make money, and so they have to invest in us one way or another. There are a lot of things that I don't like about Etsy, but because it brings so much traffic to my shop, I don't anticipate leaving anytime soon. Now, whether my husband is able to keep his shop open, that's another thing. So maybe I'll discuss that in the future as we go along. And I noticed some other things about taking a peek on the inside of what opening up a new shop is like. So you might be getting a future video from me on this sometime. So anyway, for a lot of you seasoned sellers, if you have any additional things that I'm sure that I missed on how it's different today than it was a few years ago, please leave a comment below so everyone can learn from your expertise. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Thank you for joining me today, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.